So, hello everyone, and today we have someone special with us. He is currently a great guy contributing to open source and encouraging people to join the open source space. And today we have Pradumna with us. So, hi Pradumna.
Hey everyone.
So, he's doing some amazing work. So, can you give a brief introduction about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I am Pradumna. I'm from India. So I talk about open source and DevOps. Open source in general, like open source tools related to DevOps. I am also a Go developer, like building CLI tools and automation tools. I mostly work with Docker, GitHub Actions, and some bit of Kubernetes. Yeah, that's it.
So, yeah. Uh, can you share your journey with us so that people can relate what you did and what they can do to start their journey in the open source space?
Yeah, so like I started my open source, journey, like in October 2021, which was the time for Oktoberfest. This is where I uh, exactly came to know about how open source works, because previously that was not very clear. Then I started getting to know, okay, this is a community work. This is a very kind of volunteer work, like in which you contribute to the projects, and like just help out the projects which you are using, like any project, like it can be Node, React, or anything. So this is how I started, and after like few weeks, I joined EduHub. This is I started getting deep dive into the community projects and connecting with people. Like in EduHub, you have people from all over the world, like people from UK, Italy, from everywhere, every part of the world. So this is how I started connected, contributing to different projects. Then I started creating content. This is my major part of open source contribution. Apart from the contributing to projects, I generally create content like in every format, like blog, short form content on Twitter and LinkedIn, and some video content, not to be precise like too much, but soon I will start like long form content as well on the video side. This is how it is going, uh, creating content, contributing to different projects, building my own project. This is a super important part. Like people only think of open source as contributing to different projects, but open source will also give you a open space to build your project in public and let other contributors to make that project bigger. So this is also I focus too much, like CLI tools and other projects. So yeah, that's it. And like uh, as of now, like working with some international open source companies on the partnership side, on both socials and other blogging and etc. And like soon, there's a super good news. Like I will soon release with the community. Yeah.
Talked about open source, but some people might not relate to open source. So, can you give an introduction what open source is? Because a lot of people not know about open source, like the guys who are just joining the college.
Yeah. So like open source in general, like if we say open source, it's open source software. So open source software generally means like uh, generally not means like the code is publicly available, and like anybody from the community, like it can be code, sorry, not code, it can be code, non-code, anything like designing, documentation, that whichever your niche is. Like if you work on code, if you work on documentation, you can come and improve that project publicly, and your contribution also show up there. Like for example, if I know JavaScript, I target some JavaScript projects, which can be a node, which can be there are lots of projects which are based on JavaScript. There's a community called EduHub, which have a project called Linkfree. There's a several projects like Novo and other projects which are open source, which have their own website, which is built on JavaScript. So these are open source project, and if you know JavaScript, you can improve their code, improve anything like about the functionality, the not to say like scalability or the accessibility. There are so much different parts of any project or any app you can contribute, and this is the best part about open source. Like you can contribute in different section and different areas, irrespective of your experience. Even when you just started with the programming, there's still so much space. Like you can start with non-code and other stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so since a lot of people want to join open source, so can you give like a sort of a wave to a beginner that how should a beginner start? like people get overwhelmed by just seeing the code base, and they start to think that open source is not for them. So can you give some guidance to those guys?
Yeah. So talk about the open source in general, as I said, like the thing is that people directly jump into like bigger projects, like they want to contribute to Node, they want to contribute to Kubernetes. But what happens is that this project becomes so much matured. If you see that Kubernetes, it has, I think, over like 1 lakh PRs, and you can understand the maturity of the project, how it got that bigger. So it's really hard to level up that time. But as I mentioned, like once you're starting with open source, just start with non-code contribution. Start with very basic, like it can be as simple as documentation. It can be as simple as fixing a link. So why to do that? This way you learn the workflow. Learn the workflow of two things. One is Git. Git is a super important tool which whole like project is managed around that. And second is like platform. Any platform, people generally use GitHub because that is a, what to say, uh, very common platform. Like every good open source project is hosted over there. So when you are like starting out, and these two itself are huge, like overwhelming. So when you do the simple contribution, you just focus on the workflow of these two things, Git and GitHub. You don't worry about the thing you change. Like it might be a big JavaScript code, so you have to worry about two things: your workflow and your JavaScript code. So start with non-code contribution, very simple contribution, and as you move forward, scale up your contribution. Like start with documentation, then start picking up smaller issues, smaller code issues, then moving ahead with medium level issues. This also helps, like for example, you are stick with a single project, and as you solve the issues on the way, like documentation, smaller issues, and higher issues, the person in that project or in that community already knows you. Okay, this person has fixed this issues. Let's help him to fix this medium level issues. Let's help him to fix this higher level issues. So you already have credibility, like previous in the environment. Previous in the community. This helps you to solve much higher level issues. So this is why just start the smaller and scale up on the way. Yeah, this is how it works, and this is how it should be.
Okay, so a lot of people that I have seen are coming to open source space just by seeing the amount of money it has to offer. So they come with that mindset, but soon they realize that they have to work. They have to work quite a lot so that they can reach at that level where they can earn from it, where they can get the maximum opportunities. So most of the people just give up between these time of interval where they don't see the purpose of which they came, like the money part. So they just leave the open source in between. So what can you say about that, like what should be the right mindset before contributing to open source?
So, like talking about the thing, I never understand where this analogy came from, like open source and money together. Like, yeah, people need money to survive, but if you are joining open source for the money, open source is not for you, because money is a byproduct of the open source. Because if you see about you did not get money from the contributing to open source, you did not get any money to maintaining the project. No, in general, I'm not saying maintainers do get paid, like if company get hired, but if you talk about community maintainers or volunteer maintainers, they don't generally get paid. But the thing is that the right mindset should be, I should contribute and learn, because those are real projects, and you learn a lot, like because you work with a global team. Like if you talk about simple projects, you close source project, you have a very specific team. But if you talk about open source project, you have a team from the whole world. People are connecting from whole world. The right mindset should be, I should contribute and improve my skill as well as giving back to the community. This should be the right mindset. Like even to talking about me, like I also heard like some people specifically want to come into open source because they want job. This might sound a little bit weird, but 50% is okay, but 50% is weird, because that time you only chasing the contribution which you want to, like you just what to say, leave the value part. So just focus over the value addition, and I think everything come along the way. Like I started and still don't focus on the money, but yeah, as moving forward, I reach out by different companies from the open source world. They are paying good, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you should focus more on the value and like contribution patterns, upscaling yourself. This is the three things you should focus, and everything is byproduct. Yeah.
Okay, so we all know that Hacktoberfest is coming, the part where you started your open source contributions. So, can you suggest some other resources that a person should use to get started with open source?
Yeah, so there are a couple of resources where you can get started. I will say more specifically to Hacktoberfest. So first, there's a Hacktoberfest Discord. First, join that because people share their awesome projects there. So easily you can find issues. Like generally, there is a very common issues. Common issue is that people really find hard to find GitHub issues. So joining the Hacktoberfest Discord, generally people share their repo and number of issues they have, so you can easily find those issues and get started very quickly. Second is good first issue.dev. This also helps you find good first issues. And I also have a blog, 5 ways to find open source projects. I will share that, and it will get linked in this podcast below. So that contains the 5 methods on GitHub, where 5 methods on GitHub where through which you can find issues and project like topics, their labels and different. I will share that. And third is join some communities. Like there are hundreds of communities like EtiHub, and there are some other communities, MLH community, and some other communities which focus on open source. So at the time of Hacktoberfest, they also involve their project in Hacktoberfest. So it will be much easier for you to contribute. And if you want, communities are also great uh, because when you get stuck, so community people know about the project. And
We have been talking about community, we have been talking about learning in public. So what exactly is learning in public? Like why should someone put their work, what they have been doing, onto the profiles, their social profiles, so that uh, they can learn in better? Like what is learning in public in general?
so So to be honest, like if you see my profile, everything, every single piece of it comes
Yeah.
from the learning in public, from the public profile. And I will share my like full time thing after this, after that. So while learning in public, like, for example, there are hundreds of and millions of developers around the world. So if you have everyone has a good skill set. I'm not saying
Hmm.
this developer is weak or this developer is very good, but what things, what to say, makes them stand out is their ability to show their work.
Hmm.
So like you build a project, but on the other hand, like 1,000 people are building same project, but you showcase to the world. So the only person who showed to the world knows, okay, this person has a good skill set. Other people have also good skill set, but this is the only way, because people don't have time to find those
Yeah.
1,000 people. But but when they are seeing you on the timeline, oh, this person is building Go project, this person is building no project, Node project, they will directly reach you out. Okay, are you interested in building Go project?
Hmm.
Are you interested in Node project? Because they already know you build stuff, and you as well as share them well. So they saw your journey, they saw your build part. So this is a super important thing. And second thing, why to share your learnings, because you can only share when you learn. So this
Hmm.
also give you credibility. Okay, you know stuff. This is the bottom
Yeah.
line. uh, because this also tracks. Okay, if people are regularly seeing your improvement in the tweets, like you started with Docker, you started with Kubernetes, they will understand, okay, this person is very into DevOps, let's hire him, let's interview him at least. This will set apart from you the whole crowd. So yeah, just standing out of the crowd and self credibility, these two things.
Okay, so it all comes down to making your social profile visible to others.
Yeah, so I'm not about social, only social thing. Like people
Yeah.
think build in public is all about social. No, it can be like several ways. Like it can be you are writing blogs, or
Yeah.
you are helping people in the community. This not very in general means to like social, but yeah, social is a very super powerful thing because you connect with a lot of people. But yeah, use socials. You can also write blogs, videos, anything. Like just you want to showcase a
Yeah.
work to the public. That's it. This is a simple mean of build in public. Or and talking about the open source, it's already built in public and shared in public. That
Yeah.
is a cool thing. Yeah, yeah.
And how much the aspect of having a good GitHub profile comes, like how much impact does a good GitHub profile make?
I think, I will, to be very honest, like if you talk about the typical Indian ecosystem,
Yeah.
it's really hard to say like GitHub profiles matter a lot. Like talking about 90% of case, not talking
Yeah.
about the edge part, the 10% case, like about the startup world and others. But if
Hmm.
we talk about the typical Indian MNCs, they does not matter a lot because they have a very typical kind of tech stacks and they does not care. But if you talk about the global scale, which I work with generally, this matter a lot because because this shows like you build projects, you contribute projects. So this also shows you which, wow, this person is really into that tech stacks. Like for example, you are
Yeah.
working with good project, you can only contribute to the Go projects when you are familiar with the Go. You can, in general, like you put on the resume, okay, I know Golang, Rust, Ruby, everything. But on the, if you talk about the contribution side, you can only contribute if you know the Go, and your contribution will only get merged if that code is successful or if that code is bug free. So this shows, okay, this person actually knows that Go language, this person actually knows that Rust. So this shows you actual skill set, actual knowledge, and what to say, build in public and contribution, like contribution. So in general, like it shows your transparency. That's it.
Yeah. Okay, so we have been talking about communities. So, what are some of the good communities that a beginner should be a part of, so that they can help, they can collaborate, and they can ask for help in that community?
So I will be biased. First, most foremost,
Yeah,
will be ADF because
idea.
it's a very
Yeah,
inclusive community. Yeah, because we are talking about open source, and if we don't talk about ADF, that will be super weird. So yeah, first one is ADF, like because the thing is the way ADF is built around that,
yeah,
and because I was when I joined ADF, I only ADF, sorry, and when I joined ADF, I just knew about the HTML and Markdown. You can understand and
yeah,
how the journey came along. So Eddie Hub and Kunal is a very great community. We make devs. That is
yeah.
also
We
super
make
good
devs. Yeah,
community. Yeah, so that is also super cool community. Third foremost, I love that this community, MLH community, because they run
okay,
hackathon and they're super cool people.
yeah,
I invested a lot of time in MLH community because they run hackathon. And interesting thing is that this hackathon is people joining from the all over the world, and they
yeah,
take awesome session on different, like for example, they were few days back, they were taking on the IoT, they sometimes take on Web3, they sometimes take on AI. So they have different weeks and they run on different topics like throughout the week. So that is super cool, and you build projects and you also get some swags and giveaways. So and there is a what to say, some this does not matter which community it is. Just see, like you can grow together. There should be not be senior and junior kind of thing, like okay, this person is senior, I will not help out that, or this person is junior, the senior will not help out. Just it can, if your community contains only 50 people but all are helping each other, that's it. You don't need to run away for a big communities. Communities are there to help each other out. That should be the bottom line, and everything is cherry on the top.
yeah. So the fun fact is, like 2 months back, when I was new to open source, the community that helped me was Eddie Hub. So
That is
it is
super
the
cool.
one of the best communities that everyone should become a part of, because the people are they are great, and Pradumna is also a part of Eddie Hub. And so, like, yeah, we were talking about communities. So can you say something about, like, does community help to grow you as a professional?
Sorry, I didn't get your question. Can you repeat that?
Uh, how does community help you to grow your professional career?
Mhm. So that is really cool question because I owe a lot to the EDF community. The reason is that like when I started with the open source or any tech
Yeah,
stacks, anything in general. So when I started, like I only knew the HTML, but when you join the community, different people have different projects, and when it is open source, this is cherry on the top because you see people project. Okay, this person is building Node. This person is building CLI tools. So this is how I get started. Get into the CLI thing. This is super cool thing because I saw someone in the community building Node CLI tools, and when I started scanning their project, okay, this work this, and did little bit of contribution. So community creates a spark. What I mean by spark is that this person is building this, I should also build this. So you
yeah,
started building that, and this is how I started the CLI tool, and this is how I started the Golang as well, because
okay,
you know that in the DevOps space, every good tool is built on the Go,
yeah,
and I
of
want to
course,
build some scalable and some good level CLI tools. This is why I switched to Go just to build the CLI tools. So you can understand how this started. I saw a person using Node and building CLI tools. I learned Node. build some CLI tools. Then I switched to Go, and this is how it is currently going. Like I am building CLI tools with the Go. So this is how it is now. This is how it community works. You saw people building some good things, and you get inspired, and you also start building. And second thing is that why community is also good point. Like if you talk about you get some bug. I will
Yeah.
not say ChatGPT is right now, but talking about the
Yeah.
pre-era of ChatGPT. So you get stuck in some problem, and sometimes you understand Googling also does not solve many things because you need to understand the concept. So when you have community with diverse of people which are just getting
Mm.
started and people having 2 years of knowledge, 3 years of knowledge, 4 years of knowledge, and you ask for help, you get a very good explanation with their experience. So you learn that concept, and when you ask with the community people, you get multiple perspective. Like this, when you ask which framework is good or how to this do this function in this way, 2 or 3 people will answer, and 2 3 people will answer in their own way. So you
Yeah.
add you learn 2 3 different perspective, and you can filter out okay which works for me and which are pro and cons, and you boil down to a single thing and you build this thing. So you can understand the level of learning, the level of optimization in your projects, level of optimization in your learning, and connections, like super important thing when you're talking about the people. Okay, I stuck with this problem, and that person is also a Node.js developer. You also are a Node.js developer. You can understand the conversation and
Yeah.
the bonding between you and the community people. Yeah, there are lots of benefit. I'm just I barely scratch the surface.
Yeah, yeah. Also, also used to do the CLI part with the Bash scripting, but when I saw people using Node to make the CLI tools, so I also started doing with CLI with Node.js. So yeah, that was pretty much helpful. That I come to know that people are also using JavaScript to make the CLI tools. So without community, I didn't have got to know about that. So yeah,
Absolutely.
community helped me a lot in that part. So can you show like give a guided path? Like of course for everyone, not a path. A path is well defined for everyone. So can you give a rough overview of how a person should start his journey, like a person who is completely new,
So
like a
in the
first
tech
year
or in the open
student?
source?
Uh, a mixture of both.
So yeah, so there are like first of all disclaimer. This is not a definite path. This is
Yeah,
a very
definitely. It's not
what
a
to say.
definite path. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is how I started and how like you should can you can do, not should, you can do. So just start learning any stuff. Like if you are even starting with the HTML, that is super cool. Just start with anything, and do one thing which I regret, which I did not did like 2 years back, which was not building that much of
Yeah.
project. But once you start building projects, you started to get your what to say. Uh, you started to get your faults, like your loose point, your weak point, where I am weak at. Like so don't think like okay, just I built the calculator with HTML, that's it. No, build couple of more projects. In each and every project you will get stuck, and that when you get stuck, you Google to solve that thing, and this is the learning part comes in. So do that, and when you learn HTML, you when then you started then you want to know make more styling, then you start learning
Hmm.
CSS. This is how it started. This is very in general. I'm not saying you need to start with web development, but I'm just giving a very brief overview. So as you get started, like these are the things, like started learning something and build on top of that, because every developer start with HTML and build, then move to Next.js and MongoDB, and you
Yeah.
understand. So this is a very basic starting point. Just start learning some stuff, and join some community. As I mentioned, communities are a good way. When you get stuck, you get help with lots of people. So when you started getting familiar with the HTML, or even though you are starting with the documentation, start joining the communities and start looking at the open source project in which you can add value on the both side. Like it can be HTML or it can be documentation. Even you are not very good at HTML, you can still do contribution on the documentation side. You will still learn a lot like with that. So when you when you started doing started contributing to open source, you will also learn different knowledge and different technologies. Because for example, if project is built on HTML and CSS, you only learn HTML, But when you contribute, there are multiple aspects where you need to deal with the CSS. So
Yeah.
you also started learning about, okay, this CSS is connected in this way, I can contribute in this way. So this is a super cool thing. Like I recently learned a lot. Recently learned a cool thing like Kubernetes community is doing.
Mm.
Like they are translating the whole documentation different language.
Yeah.
What is happening is that, like, if person is contributing in Marathi, but the thing is
Mm.
that even the person is not into Kubernetes, but after contributing to Kubernetes in Marathi, he get inspired, and now he is learning, or she is not, he or she is learning Kubernetes. But
Yeah.
the way they started was the documentation, but the way now they are learning Kubernetes. So you can understand, sometimes you contribute in different way, different part of the code, different part of the project, but you get inspired and started learning something different. So this is how you need to do, like, learn some stuff, started contributing to open source, joining communities. And when you get familiar with some bunch of stuff, and build some projects, join hackathons. As I mentioned, MLH community, join hackathons. You will team up with some people. Not on no, I'm not saying join in-person hackathons for
Yeah.
now. Join virtual hackathons. Sorry for the background noise. Join the in-person uh, virtual hackathons, because when you team up the people, like, you know HTML, some other person knows CSS, some other person knows JavaScript. When you combine three minds together, you build
Yeah.
something awesome. So join hackathons, and this is how you do that. Like, when you are good with that, and started building, now started hosting your own open source project,
Mm.
like with HTML, CSS, and make, as you learn different stuff, like when you learn CSS, start with one thing I want to say one more thing, like, build start a very project from very initial.
Mm.
This is how I do it. I don't do that in this way, like, okay, I learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then I create project. No, I start project with HTML, and as I run stuff, I start on that project. The reason is that you track your journey, you
Yeah.
have a commit history. Okay, this person has learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, so you can see the transformation of a website, or transformation of
Yeah.
app. Okay, I have learned so much. So don't, like, sit in a one day. Okay, I learned this three stuff, I will implement all these three stuff in a single day. No,
Yeah.
evolve over time, transform over time. So yeah, this is a very basic thing. Learn, build stuff, and do some kind of do open source, join hackathons. There are a bunch of ways. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's your final word about all of this?
So yeah, I would say, like, if we talk about the open source, specifically about open source, there is a win-win, because there's nothing costing you, nothing. I think there's a lots of learning, like, different technologies, meeting with
Mm.
different people, and I will not share the complete details, but recently in the 3 months, I got three offers from
Yeah.
international, just based on my social profile and GitHub profile, and I am joining one company. Not going to say the role and the company
Yeah.
name right now. So very soon, like in the upcoming week, and that's also that is everything comes from the open source, my GitHub profile, and my, what to say, overall journey. And interesting thing is that when you are have a good social profile, when you're good at something, and
Mm.
uh, people know your work, you don't need to create your resume. People will reach
Yeah.
out to you. So this is a cool thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty much everything that we have discussed in this podcast. So